Hey friends, welcome to the channel. If you want to know if it's worth spending your time with Duolingo to learn a foreign language, you found the right video. Los geht's! My name is Dustin. I'm an IT project manager from Germany. On this channel we create content that helps us be more productive, to learn new things, especially languages, and to live a happier and more fulfilling life. Today we're going to review the most used language learning app in the world, Duolingo. The app has more than 575 million users and the company's mission is to provide free education for everyone. It's mainly for teaching languages, but recently they have also launched mathematics and music courses. In my link review video I've mocked Duolingo in the thumbnail, thus I felt responsible for doing an honest test video of Duolingo. And spoiler right from the start, no, this app isn't useless. So first we will have a look at the science or the idea behind Duolingo. Then we'll do an in-depth review of the app. Next we'll have a look at the pros and cons as well as their pricing model. Because there's a free version, but it comes with some caveat. And last but not least, I want to give you some tips and tricks on how to use Duolingo the best way, followed by a short conclusion. Alright, let's dive into today's hour. First, a nice sip of tea today. Los geht's. So how should it work? Well, that's a long one, but there are different theories behind learning languages. The idea behind Duolingo is that you shouldn't focus on grammar, conjugation tables, or long word lists to memorize. They want you to interactively learn the language and absorb patterns, or in other words, to assimilate the language intuitively, and then be able to transfer that knowledge to real life by producing the language in written or spoken form, which sounds awesome. Still, it's an artificial approach and you won't be able to transfer that knowledge to the skills that you actually want to master, at least not one by one. What do I mean by that? When reading the book Ultralearning by Scott Young, I've stumbled upon the transfer problem. That means that if you are learning something in an artificial way like in school or also by using Duolingo, the transfer of that knowledge to the actual skills you want to learn is not straightforward and often not working at all. The solution for that is to learn things with a direct connection to how you want to apply the skill. Then you'll need less transfer. Directness helps to make the knowledge usable. Applied to language learning, that will mean that if you want to learn to speak a language, then it makes sense to actually speak the language, like doing exercises that are specifically aimed towards that, ideally like really speaking. And to actually speak the language, you also need to be able to understand it, ideally even before speaking it. And that means to train reading and listening skills directly. They also emphasize on the importance of consuming comprehensible and compelling input in order to absorb the language. And I fully agree that this is super important, but the standard lessons you do don't offer enough exposure. There are in between stories, and at least in Spanish, those radio exercises, which is basically content to be consumed and to be interacted with. But there aren't longer texts to be read or real conversations to be followed through. Isn't Duolingo useful at all then? And we can end the video here? I wouldn't say so. And also I wouldn't presume that all the linguists who work at Duolingo have no idea, because there's another aspect that plays a big role in language learning. It's the ability to notice, where there has been a hypothesis with the name the noticing hypothesis. That means that when you're reading and listening to stuff in your target language, depending on your level, you'll notice certain features if you look out for them. So here we are talking about active noticing, in a way that someone points out certain features or that you learn them on the side. And that means still that comprehensive and compelling input, which is content we can understand and find interesting, is crucial for language acquisition. Speaking also becomes necessary eventually. As we consume more content, we gradually notice language patterns and pick up grammar. Learning some grammar and language features on the side can enhance this process. Especially at advanced stages, actively working on noticing language features becomes crucial to further progress. Despite living in a foreign country and achieving some fluency, one may stop progressing without active work on their language skills. This is common at the intermediate plateau. Remember, input does not become intake for language learning unless it is noticed, that is, consciously registered. So the app is available for iOS and Android, but you can also use it in the browser. Since most of the users are using the app version, that's what we'll review today, and to be more precise, it'll be the iOS version. Now let's have a look at the app. So I've just switched from Spanish to Korean to show you how it looks like when you're just starting fresh. And this is what you'll see then at the beginning. You get a dialogue which asks you if you want to start from scratch or if you want to find your starting place, which means you get to do a placement test and then you don't have to start from zero. But we don't do that now. I just want to show you that you can also learn scripts using Duolingo, because I can't show you that with Spanish, of course. But with Korean, you can see here the whole alphabet, and you can also do exercises to actually learn those letters, which is super useful. But now let's switch back to Spanish, which is the language that I've learned a bit for the last year or so with Duolingo, to see how the app actually works. I have, of course, the paid version to show you the app in detail, as you can see here on top. So that's super Duolingo. So on the top left, you can change the language. We are learning Spanish now, but there are also those courses that I have talked about, which is math and music. Okay, then next to that, you can see your streak. So I got a streak of 440 days now, but I will break my streak soon. I just did that to actually do the test video. And also you got those those crystals that you can use to buy stuff in the store. Like, for example, streak freezes that you can, if you break your streak, that you can repair it actually. Okay. And this is the lesson screen. So you have different section and different units, as you can see here. So the sections are based on difficulty. You start with section 1, which is A1, section 2 is still A1, and then section 3 still A1, and then section 4 is A2, and so on. And those are based on the language levels, so on the CFR, the Common European Framework of Reference for Languages. Okay, here we are. And you see in the section different units. So this will be the first unit. I've done everything already. And this is in the second unit. And each of those units has a different topic. So here you can see talk about your childhood. Use the past tense. So you have a topic and a you have a topic and a grammatical concept that they want to teach you. If you click on here, you can also see the key phrases that they are going to use to teach you that, which is super useful. You can also see tips, so how those tenses actually work, or those grammatical concepts that they want to teach you. And that is super useful. And I would highly encourage you to read that before you do the exercises, because this way you will be able to notice. Also afterwards, when you are reading and listening to stuff, you will be able to notice then certain concepts and internalize them. So super cool. And then you have within the unit different lessons, if you will. So you have the regular lessons, as you can see here. Then you have also the stories, and not here, but further down here, you have also radio episodes, which is basically like an interactive, super short podcast episode where you have to do certain things. And then you also have in between those personalized practice exercises, which you only have with Super Duolingo, but which contain all your errors you made within the unit, and then you can practice them in a consolidated manner. And that's super useful. Okay, I would say let's just have a look at one lesson. So as you can see, this is lesson 1 out of 5. So you progress in difficulty, and then in the end you have mastered it. You'll have mastered it. And as you can see also here is that you gain experience points. And that's part of the whole gamification feature within Duolingo. But let's now have a look at the lesson.
Yo montaba mi bicicleta a la casa de mi abuela.
This is an exercise that should help you with your pronunciation. So I need to speak it now. Okay, let's try it. Yo montaba mi bicicleta a la casa de mi abuela. Okay, seems like that was right.
Yo no sé jugar voleibol. Soy muy malo para los deportes.
Yo no sé jugar voleibol. Soy muy malo para los deportes.
Yo no sé jugar voleibol. Soy muy malo para los deportes.
This one. ¿En serio? ¿No jugabas de niño? And I need to speak it again.
¿Tú montabas tu caballo en la granja?
Again, pronunciation. ¿Tú montabas tu caballo en la granja?
¿Tú jugabas al voleibol en la escuela?
And now I need to come up with the different blocks to build that phrase.
¿Tú jugabas al voleibol en la escuela?
And I would encourage you to not do that immediately, but to repeat out aloud when he says that.
¿Tú jugabas al voleibol en la escuela?
¿Tú jugabas al voleibol en la escuela?
Tú jugabas al voleibol en la escuela.
De niña yo jugaba mucho con mi gato en la...
Nieve.
in the snow. I always used to play with my dolls. I always used to play with my dolls. And here you have an English phrase that you're supposed to translate to Spanish. And you have also, again, those blocks that you can put together to make that phrase. But I would encourage you to not do that. Just do it freely and just then build it by using the blocks. I always used to play with my dolls. Yo, but that's not, so that would be yo, but that's not necessary. Always is siempre. Siempre, then used to play, that's past. Jugaba. Siempre jugaba con mis muñecas. Muñecas, that's dolls.
Yo siempre jugaba con mis muñecas.
That's right.
De niño, yo jugaba al ajedrez.
De niño yo jugaba al ajedrez.
Tú nunca jugabas al ajedrez conmigo.
And again, don't build it, but try to repeat it first.
Tú nunca jugabas al ajedrez conmigo.
Tú nunca jugaba al ajedrez conmigo.
Tú nunca jugabas al ajedrez conmigo.
Prefiero al voleibol. De niña lo a menudo. Okay, now we need to use the word jugar in the right form. Again, don't use the blocks, but just build it by yourself. Prefiero, that's the present tense, jugar al voleibol. De niña lo jugaba.
Jugaba.
De niña, yo siempre montaba mi bicicleta.
There's a translation exercise. De niña yo siempre montaba mi bicicleta. When I was a child or a girl, I always used to ride my bicycle. Something like that. As a child, I always used to ride my bicycle. Tú is again jugar in the right form, and so on. And this way you progress through the whole lesson. Let's finish it up. And now the lesson is done. I did a perfect lesson, okay, had some luck. Yeah, it tries to motivate you, it shows you your streak then. And then you also have those daily quests that you can achieve. That should also motivate you and get you to stick to the app. And you can also see the February challenge down there, early bird quests and so on. And those are all the gamification aspects that you can see here. So you have monthly quests, you have daily quests. It's a bit like a game. Then you have different badges that you can achieve. And here, this is the area where you can repeat stuff. And you have also a league where you get placed. That should motivate you to do more. And yeah, you can connect to other people here. And this is just the blog. Yeah, and then there are also those stories that are a bit more, more like a comprehensible input. We can also have a quick look at that. So let's have a look.
Acampando.
Acampando. And you can also, you can see what this is about, so it's like camping.
Vikram está acampando con su esposa Priti. Ellos están en su tienda de campaña.
¿Por qué no puedo usar mi teléfono?
Dijimos que no íbamos a usar nuestros teléfonos durante este viaje. ¿Recuerdas?
Durante este viaje. Yeah, in this way you would progress through the story, and you would also, put in some things, and there's some interaction with the story. And that's basically it. And this way you would then progress through the tree until you have finished all the different units, and then at some point you would progress to the next section. What Duolingo is doing great, in my opinion, is to make it fun and to keep you using the app. They have used gamification to an extent that it has become the most used language learning app in the world. Where other apps might be boring and it can be hard to stick to them, Duolingo really does a great job. So it basically gets you into language learning and can also get you into a language learning habit that you can then stack other things onto. It can be also a good start to understand the basics of a specific language and how the language works. Also, they individualize the content that they offered for you. So based on the errors you make, you'll get personalized lessons, for example. But this is only a feature in the paid version. Recently, a new feature has been introduced, which is to allow you to free write and then they are checking your answer using AI. The app covers also an incredible amount of languages, currently over 40, and even some constructed ones like Klingon or Esperanto. Depending on the language, there's now also some comprehensible input available. Also, you'll find grammar explanations that you can use to get an overview of the language and also to make use of the noticing hypotheses. Negative points are that the pronunciation at times, and depending on the language, can be weird. Also, sometimes there are weird phrases that nobody would use in real life. There's not enough comprehensible input, if you ask me, to actually really learn a language. And it can be addictive. Once you're through the content that is useful for you, be okay with breaking your streak and continue learning with other resources that help you to progress further. In the free version, you don't have to pay anything, but it comes with some restrictions. But we'll see that when I explain what the paid version actually offers. So the paid version is called Super Duolingo and it offers the following. You have no ads, so you can learn without interruption. You have unlimited hearts, so you can just plow through the lessons and mistakes won't slow you down. You can review your mistakes by using the personalized lessons. You have unlimited attempts at legendary challenges and you can gain legendary trophies. It costs in Germany either 15 euro per month or as a yearly subscription about 78 euro. So I guess it should be pretty much similar in US dollar, for example. There's also a family plan if you want to use it for multiple persons in a household and costs then about 120 euro per year. Duolingo Max is the highest tier of Duolingo and it's still pretty new. It has the same as Super Duolingo but also more AI features, but it's not yet available everywhere. Also, the available languages so far are only French and Spanish for English speakers. It costs 35 euro per month or 200 euro per year. Now, let's come to the tips on how to use it right. Ask yourself, what am I learning right now? And then read the section overview. This way, you will be able to understand certain features of the language and then also be able to notice them when you are reading or listening to something. Come up with the sentence by yourself and speak it out aloud before building it with blocks or so. This way the approach becomes more natural and you can easier transfer your knowledge to actual speaking or writing. If you notice certain words or phrases that you want to memorize because you can imagine to actually use them in conversations, for example, put them in the spaced repetition flashcard tool like Anki. Work on specific features of the language and as soon as you have understood them, move on to the next part. Reflect on if you are still learning something and don't just do it because of your streak. Be okay with moving on. In conclusion, major part of your learning should come from consuming comprehensible and compelling input and then later also producing the language via speaking and writing, depending on your goals. Also, it can make sense to get a better grasp of the language and how it's working to progress faster. But for that, a free tool like Language Transfer is the better choice, if it's available for your target language, of course. If all that is covered and you have just fun using Duolingo, then go ahead and do it. But don't spend all your time just using this resource. I would say it should only represent 10 to 20% of your daily language learning effort. Probably for that, the free version is already enough. Please let me know in the comments if you use Duolingo and if it helps you to learn languages or what your favorite language learning app is. If you want to know how I learn languages, have a look here. Or if you are interested in more app reviews, I got a whole playlist for that as well, somewhere here. If you found the video useful, leave me a like and a subscription to the channel, and to not miss anything going forward, click also on the notification bell. Thank you so much for watching, and see you the next time.